Legend has it that if you throw a stone at any of the villas here in Adarsh Palm Retreat, it will most likely hit one that belongs to a startup founder in India. Well, we are not here to throw stones. We are here to meet the founder and CEO of Meesho, which was last valued at nearly $5 billion. Its founder, Vidit Atre, is right there. He's on a call, but he's going to join us. Hey, Vidit, are you done with your call?
Hey, Chandra, I'm good. Yeah, I'm done.
Why don't you come down then for a conversation?
Sure. I'm coming down.
For years, Amazon and Flipkart had the entire e-commerce field to themselves. Meesho, founded by IIT Delhi batchmates Vidit Atre and Sanjeev Bernwal in December of 2015, was on the sidelines, selling through a social commerce channel where a reseller buys products from the supplier and sells it in platforms like WhatsApp. But not anymore. Today, a majority of Meesho's sales comes from direct channels, pitting it against Flipkart and Amazon. Its rapid expansion and execution has helped it emerge as a challenger in India's e-commerce space. Meesho, short for Meri Shop, is making a play for the price over convenience market. It's going after the next billion users in big and small cities for customers who spend less than $500. Last year, Meesho raised two large funding rounds, $300 million and then $570 million. It was last valued at $4.9 billion. Its investors include marquee names like Facebook, SoftBank Vision Fund 2, Prosus Ventures, B Capital, Y Combinator, Elevation Capital, and Sequoia, among others.
What sets Vidit apart is his maturity, his ambition, and I think that ambition today is also because of what the ecosystem provides, right? You have cheap data, you have a talent pool, you have returning entrepreneurs who will come and join Meesho. You have people in tier 3, tier 4 towns who know YouTube, who have access to the internet, and so that kind of gives the building blocks for that ambition. And with that comes an opportunity as well as an ambition to be absolutely unparalleled. He is clear that the next billion internet users have to come on the internet. He is very clear that the AOV of what they want to spend should not matter. And he is solving for a cost structure in a profitable way which will enable that. So what he's not taking for an answer is that there is a cost structure which exists, there is a norm which exists, and therefore the Indian consumer can only order more than X AOV on the internet.
But rapid growth in a short span of time comes with its own challenges. Meesho often draws criticism for its high burn rate, rumored to be $30 to $50 million a month, and a lack of focus because of a series of pivots, from fashion to social commerce to direct selling to grocery. Juneja, who led the Meesho deal for SoftBank, however, says it's a reflection of what the consumer wants.
I think the fundamental premise of Meesho, which is let's get the next billion internet users online, let's get them to shop online, and it's price over convenience. I don't think that core has changed. Now, how do you deliver that? They are using what the consumer is telling them and directing the business to deliver that at the right cost structure. So actually, for me, it's not a pivot. I think it's very smart of them to have the humility to appreciate the data and to move the business towards what the consumer wants.
Apart from Amazon and Flipkart, Meesho also has to compete with large conglomerates like Tata and Reliance, as well as new players like DealShare and City Mall, who have big plans for online commerce in India. Can Meesho make it? We're here to meet its founders, Vidit Atre and Sanjeev Bernwal.
Hey Vidit,
Hey,
so
Chandra.
good to have you on the show. Welcome to the unicorn story from bits to billions. And this is where the billionaires, the new age billionaires in Bengaluru live, including you. But tell us how it started. We know how it's going, but how did it start? You studied at IIT, but were your parents into entrepreneurship? Did your interest start there? How did it start?
Yeah, I think like the early days for us were quite tough. I come from a Brahmin family, right? So doing business is not something that most people do. Like no one before us even thought of starting up a business. So when I did, my parents were obviously quite against it.
They just wanted you to study well and make it to IIT, take up a job and settle down.
Correct. So yeah, it was tough, but both Sanjeev and I, by the way, come from very similar backgrounds. I would say lower middle class, very capped aspirations, go to a good college, take a good job, settle down, get married and stuff like that. But I think both of us very, very quickly into our career realized that we want to do a lot more in terms of the kind of impact we can create, the kind of problems we want to solve. And that's when Meesho was born, like with a very simple vision. Can we bring India's small businesses online, right? And India is primarily a small business economy. Like 85% of all retail in India is small business led. And before us, all of online e-commerce was primarily branded commerce. So we knew it's a very large opportunity out there, very hard problem that no one is solving for. As people coming from lower middle class, we always bought from small businesses. So bringing them online is something that we really connected with ourselves. So yeah, that's what inspired us to start this.
Compared to say 2016 to 2022, if you can take us through your own progression, how have you changed over the years?
So I would say like lots of things have changed. Both Sanjeev and I have become much more mature as compared to what we were when we started up. When we started up, we were 24-year-old, right? So we had absolutely no idea of how to start a business. And we learned everything like while doing it, failing again and again. We pivoted like twice before we landed on what we are doing now. So I think there are lots of failures that really made us battle hardened, as I would say, to some extent, to really understand what we should do, what is the right thing to do, what is not the right thing to do. I think we have over time realized the importance of building a great team. We have over time realized the importance of basically building the right leverage, putting the right culture. That if you ask me on day one, did we start with this? The answer is no, right? But I think one thing that has stayed consistent is just the large vision we started with. Because I think one thing that was very important for us is we wanted to work on a problem that we feel we will stay inspired for the next 20, 30 years. So it cannot be a small problem. Otherwise, we will not stay as inspired every day, feel as confident every morning to go and basically create impact.
Meesho's founders Vidit and Sanjeev were batchmates and hostelmates at IIT Delhi before going their separate ways after graduating. While Vidit worked at ITC and InMobi, Sanjeev worked with Sony in Japan for 3 years. A chance phone call between the two changed their destiny, and they would go on to start Meesho. Today, the two are among India's top founders and also active angel investors.
Hey Sanjeev, hi.
Hey Chandra, how are you?
Good to see you here.
Same here, same here.
What are you up to?
Just looking at our website, figuring out how do we make it 10x faster.
How to raise funding and when to go IPO, are those among
all
the
of these
others?
things will lead to IPO and funding for sure.
So there's Sanjeev Banwal, Vidit's co-founder. Interestingly, both of you met where? At IIT Delhi, right?
Yeah.
So were you at the same hostel, because they have all this Jwalamukhi and Aravali and Kumaon? So which hostel were both of you in?
We are in Jwalamukhi.
Which was the same hostel, I think, that the Flipkart founders were also in, right? Sachin and Binny and I think many of them.
Sachin was from Jwala. I think Binny was from Kumaon.
Another hostel.
I
I think Udan founders are from, again, Jwalamukhi.
Yeah.
Which is your Sujit and...
Yeah. So
was there a lot of discussion about Flipkart when you guys were at IIT? Was it already a phenomenon?
I think Flipkart used to come to our college for placements. Used to be, I think, day 2 or day 3 company, but it did used to come for placements, and definitely it was a matter of pride that the company which founders from Jwala started, and now it is coming in day 2 or whatever, some day X. So there's a buzz around it, but I don't think it was the go-to company, the most preferred tech company at that point in time. This is 2012 when Flipkart was still
just taking
kind of
off.
growing.
Yeah. But both of you, after starting together, you went your separate ways, right? Like you went to ITC in Chennai, and then I think you worked for Sony.
Yeah, I was with Sony in Tokyo for 3 years. I was working in their DSLR and cybershot division in one of the software layers.
And
similar
Vidit, you
stuff.
were with the InMobi then.
I was
Yeah.
in movie then.
So how did the call start? I mean, did you get bored there and did you get bored here? And
Yeah, so I think what happened was, I think some startup from Bangalore approached me and they wanted me to join and help them with some NLP related stuff. So after 3 years, I suddenly called him asking, yeah, do you know this startup? Like, how is this? And he said, what happened? Like, what do you want to join them? Let's start up together. And it was that easy. Like, I think 1 week after that call, without having an idea in mind, we had quit.
both of you together, do you all kind of fight a lot or agree on most things? How do things work when both of you are discussing something Meesho related or what you should do, should not do? How does it work and who ultimately wins the argument?
So I think one very good thing about us is we have very complementary skill sets, right? And we know each other for so long and so well that we trust each other very well. So in things where Sanjeev has a lot more expertise than me, like we will discuss and
Which
I will
would be
share.
what, product tech?
Correct. So I will share my POV, but it is his last decision to make. And the same thing goes for business otherwise. So he will share his POV, but he trusts me with the right decision. So I think that's a good thing.
You know, one would say that Meesho is a different startup every year, you know, it's constantly changed. Now, on the plus side, it's good because you're keeping pace with what is changing, you're not stuck in a rut. But, you know, on the flip side, one might say that, you know, is there a lack of focus? Because every year you're kind of going towards the flavor of the season. You started with social commerce and, fashion and then WhatsApp groups. And then you pivoted to direct selling. And now you're, you know, going after grocery. So how would you respond to that criticism that, you know, Meesho kind of keeps changing every year?
Yeah, if you look at it, by the way, our core vision hasn't changed at all. Like the vision that we had on day one is the vision we have today. We started with bringing small businesses online as the primary goal. Today also, internally, the only thing we talk about is bringing small businesses online. And we believe that the how changes basis where the market is, right? Structurally, a lot of changes happened when WhatsApp came in, right? So we said, let's enable small businesses, micro entrepreneurs to enable how to use WhatsApp. Then the pandemic happened. That opened up a lot of opportunities, especially in tier 2 and tier 3. And that's why we made the switch to what we are doing. So the how changes and how has to change because so much context in the entire environment is changing. And as a company, by the way, we are very bold. We believe this is the right thing to do. We are not stuck with the past decisions that we made in our life. We believe the right thing to do, we will do it. And we call it internally as thinking 10x. We push everyone to take those bold bets irrespective of what risks it comes with because we're very clear about the vision. So vision hasn't changed at all. From day 1 to day 10, it's the exact same thing.
But the approaches that you keep changing, is it based on user feedback? I remember you saying that, you know, when you initially started up Meesho, you used to WhatsApp the first 15 resellers or users. So does that still continue? How do you kind of decide that, okay, right now we will pivot from reseller to direct. Right now we will focus on grocery. How does that happen?
So internally now we have a lot of, I would say the culture is very focused on being very user first. So there are lots of rituals around. So internally we have one ritual which is called listen or die. Every single person in the company from topmost to junior most at a certain frequency has to speak to users. Every project you pick up, the first thing that you have to do is you have to speak to users. Every single person does it, even I do it. And Sanjeev does it, and every senior management in the person.
In fact, we start doing it right when people join the company. The first task that they have is speak to your users, including your demand side, supply side, suppliers, to understand what kind of users you are working towards. Without that, you cannot solve their problems.
To finally get some breakfast, and along with Sanjeev, we also have Meenu with its wife, and who also happens to be a startup founder, right?
Yeah.
Wow. How did you guys meet? Was it at some startup pitch event or, you know, some other event?
No, I think this was before our startup life. We met at a New Year's party back in 2015. Yeah, and then we started dating 3 days later.
But he wasn't starting up then, so he had a day job.
Correct.
in movie.
Yes.
And then what happened? You went.
And then
to
Sanjeev happened.
I
So
should not
Sanjeev,
have
what
done
did you
that.
do? You asked him to quit.
Yeah, I think I just had to make a call. He quit himself. Whatever I would want to put it.
It's the call away.
Because I think you did your MBA at ISB. The plan was to get Vidit also to study, and then Sanjeev calls and says, "Arey yaar, sab kuch chodo, you just start."
Correct. Correct.
Honestly, I was not aware of his plans of doing MBA, so I would not take that blame that I made him change
By the
his
way, I was
plans.
in very much a mood to start up. So even at that point in time, I was trying to kind of convince a lot of my friends to basically become co-founders. So even though I was in a very different frame of mind when I met Meenu, I think few months down the line we realized this is the thing we really want to do at this point in time.
So with it, North Indian, South Indian, what's your favorite kind of cuisine?
Now I like both. So
Like both.
yeah,
Yeah,
especially
interest-
breakfast. I realized the South Indian breakfast is so tasty. I've always loved like parathas in Delhi, but after coming here now I love idlis, dosas quite a lot.
And you guys actually come from two very different backgrounds, right? You're from Delhi, she's from Kerala. So this is like your own version of two states.
Correct.
Yeah, I think it's best of both worlds for us, right? We have like my mom who cooks the best, South Indian food, and his mom who cooks the best like parathas in the world. So we're lucky, like we get both.
Vidit, Sanjeev, tell us about the competitive environment, because initially you started out as a social commerce platform, but now you are competing with Flipkart, Amazon, you're taking them on head on. So what can Meesho really do differently? Because now you're also going to have Tata, you're also going to have Reliance with its JioMart. So what's really going to set you apart among so many people? Are you doing too many things? Have you sort of become a Me Too online commerce firm?
Yeah, I think we're the exact opposite. So if you see, we're very, very focused on what we do. So we have talked about small businesses, that's what we're focused on. Like people have been asking us, you are in e-commerce, why don't you smell smartphones? Been 7 years, we haven't, right? So we have been very focused on what we are solving for. Our vision is to enable 100 million small businesses in India to succeed online, and we'll keep doing it. And to be very frank, if you look at that vision, there's no other players that even you talked about that is focused on this. Everyone else is a lot more focused on branded commerce, a lot more focused on the top 4, 6,
But
8
you guys
cities.
are planning to get into branded
Again, for
segment
our
again.
audience only. I don't think we're going to go after brands that people like you and me buy. Right? We're going to go after brand that our customers care about, which are affordable, which solve their problems.
So
we will
price over convenience.
So we will stay very focused. As a company, we've always been very focused, and I don't think we will change that focus ever.
And what about concerns on, Meesho spending, burning a lot of money per month? I think some reports said 50 million. You also, I think, posted a loss of 500 crore in the previous fiscal. So are you aiming for, to become cash flow positive, to become profitable? What are your goals in that sense?
So as I was saying, I think in terms of unit economics, you've always been very positive. And I think that's the most important thing that matters, right? So are you burning money per order or are you making money per order? We make money per every order. Now it's about how fast we want to grow. So if you look at for the last 2 years, we have grown 5x every year on a very large base, right? You would not find any companies that are growing 70% year on year, 100% year on year. On a very large base, last year we grew 5x, which means you're able to kind of leapfrog and get to scale that companies have taken 15 years to get to.
So how happy were you when Shopee said it is shutting down in India? Were you like, yay, one competitor down?
I don't think we focus a lot on competitors because we
You
believe
guys
in
posted
us.
a meme, shopping, enjoy
So
shopping.
definitely team enjoys seeing this change, but I think we have always been more focused towards our end goal, which was mentioned in the
But does it
vision.
kind of make life a little easier for you, because they were running massive discounts, they were beginning to post daily orders in massive volume. So in that sense, is it like one less competitor in the market?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the volume came from discounts, right? So which we knew at some point was unsustainable.
Yeah.
How long will that work? We had no idea. So that going away brings a lot more sanity to this market, which is great for everyone, by the way. Like that's very clear. But if you look at the total scale they got to, even you publish that number, on our kind of order base is a very small number, right? So it doesn't affect it as much. Okay, here they go, will it impact our business positive in a day? It doesn't matter. They become much larger, then it would start to affect us. But yeah, I think less craziness is always good for the ecosystem because people are not thinking about today and day after, they're thinking about the long term.
And in terms of fundraising plans, what's happening there? A lot of buzz for many months on Meesho raising a new round. And will this be perhaps the last round before a possible IPO? Do you have plans in that direction as well?
So we have a very strong balance sheet. So if you look at last year, we raised 2 large rounds. One was 570 million, the other was 300 million. So we have a lot more money than we basically need for the next few years. So we're very sorted. I think after that, it's about being opportunistic. When we see that we have the right partners at the right terms, the right valuation, we will go and take that. But we don't need as much. So it's just about, we will see when we should do it and basically take that action. But so far, we have the right amount of capital to keep executing
IPO
on our plans.
do you have?
We have, like all companies, our aspiration is to get there very, very soon. Will happen in a couple of years.
Very soon will be 2023.
Can be, or can be a year after also. But we want to get there very quickly. When we have a definite date, we will come back and tell you.
Okay.
But the plan is to get
But
there
I think
soon.
good thing is because our business fundamentals are so stable that we don't have to change a lot of things to be ready for IPO. Because we've always built the business in a more sustainable manner.
Right. Viral and Sanjeev, how do both of you respond to criticism? When people say that things are not going well at Meesho, that there is trouble, or you guys are burning too much, or business is not doing well, do you dismiss it out of hand? Do you go back to the drawing board? What really goes through your mind when you don't see great things being said about
I think
Meesho?
I personally look at criticism in a positive manner. Like you try to understand why this perspective exists from the other person's POV, right? So why he's thinking or she's thinking in this manner. And then you try to just introspect and see if you're doing something wrong, which you're never doing and you're focusing on the right things. Then it just seems like lack of information. So if there is lack of information, people will have different POVs. But the first reaction, my reaction to criticism is always, okay, try to understand the POV and try to see if we need to change something.
What about you, Vidit? Does it affect you personally, emotionally, that this is my company, what are these people saying?
Yeah, I think to be very frank, we know a lot of this comes out because they're agendas of certain people, right? There's certain people in the ecosystem
Certain people would be who your competitors.
could be potential competitors, competitors, right? So who really want to kind of hurt the company in some way, and sometimes they start to build this narratives because we know this, and everyone in the company knows this. They know this. Hey, all of this is an agenda being pushed by someone. So we know what's right and what's wrong, right? As I said, you look at our investor base, you look at the way we run this business, we've been very focused, very consistent, and very, very strong focus on the business fundamentals like unit economics. And we'll stay there. I don't think that changes. And we see a lot of this and we realize we know who's kind of putting this back. And to some extent, we must be doing something right that is ruffling some of these feathers, right? So I think just that's how we take it. As Sanjeev said, we always take anything constructively, right? We're always people who are very open to feedback. So if there's something that we can take, we will do it. But most of what you're talking about, a lot of that is pushed through agenda. And basically what can you do? You can just sit and smile, right? So.
You guys, also made it to the millionaire lists and the unicorn lists at a fairly young age, right? 31 and 32.
Yeah.
So what does it feel like that, when you see your net worth suddenly going up in a big way? Is there something that you spend on, or what does money really mean to both of you?
Money is always very important, but once you get to that minimum base, after that, it's not the most important thing that
It's not the
drives you,
compelling-
right? After a stage, we got to that stage where after that point, you don't know how to spend it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot more at this stage for us that can we create more impact with what we have. That's why almost everything that we have taken out, we have then gone back and invest in startups. Okay, we will help some of our new Vidit and Sanjeev grow up their companies. We'll try to help them out. I think that's what inspires us again, coming here in office and thinking about how can we take our business 10x, 100x larger, impact 100 million more lives. That gives us a lot more positive energy than counting money out there. Right? So that's how we think about it.
Okay, so let's end with a rapid fire round. I'll give you a word and you can kind of give me the first word that comes to your mind. So let me start with you. Social commerce,
Meesho,
grocery,
Meesho.
quick commerce,
Instamart,
IPO.
Meesho.
When?
Soon.
Amazon.
Smartphones.
Deal share.
Don't know much.
Friend.
With it,
Culture.
Meesho.
Food.
Swiggy.
Beer.
Sanjeev.
On that note, thank you both very much for coming
you.
on the
Thank you,
Unicorn
Chandra.
story from bits to billions. And I hope it will inspire many people to start up and scale up just like Meesho has done. Pleasure
Thank you.
having you both on the show.
Thank you.
Same here.
Thanks,
Thank
Chandra.
you. Thank you.